Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar ji. Good afternoon, everyone, and all our audience who are watching us on Zoom and also on the Facebook Live. We are pleased to welcome you all for a live interaction with Shivdular Singh Dhillon, who is Deputy Commissioner of Amritsar, and he is District Magistrate and District Collector, and also he is the CEO of Punjab Civil Aviation Council. And what we are going to discuss with him about is he is the person who is managing the whole city of Amritsar, and what are the challenges of managing the city like Amritsar, which is very unique. It is having an airport, and it is also having an international border. It is having an international airport and having an international border with it. It is a huge tourist destination thanks to the Golden Temple, and a very unique city. So the COVID-19 gave various cities various different challenges. So before we get into the challenges of the city, I will request Mr. Shivdular Singh to please talk about a bit about his education, his career in the government till now, so that audience has a broad idea about his earlier various responsibilities. Shivdular, welcome.
Thank you so much. Basically, I am a postgraduate in English literature, and then I did my master's in business administration from the University of Hull in UK. That was while in service. Probably the government realized their mistake that they recruited illiterate fellows to pack me off to England to get educated. So I did my MBA with distinction from there. During my career, I've had postings which have been quite varied and quite asimilar to each other. I've been in the district administration before. I've headed departments like as a director of food and civil supplies, as a director of tourism, as a director of sports, as the MD of the State Road Transport Corporation, the State Tourism Development Board. So it has been wearing different hats at different points of time. So with every posting, one learns more and moves on.
Fantastic. So I will request you to please talk about what has been the situation in like Amritsar pre-lockdown, post-lockdown, and what are the varied range of challenges it offered to you as a city administrator.
See, pre-lockdown, Amritsar is a place it's known for the Golden Temple, and Golden Temple, as you know, as per the World Book of Records, is the most visited destination in the world. So we get about 125,000 people visiting the Golden Temple every day. So a city which has that kind of footfall, the number 2 place is the Eiffel Tower in Paris. So that's the kind of figures we have in Amritsar. In the evening, we have about 30,000 people at the meeting of retreat at the Attari Wagah border. We have various tourist destinations. At least when the tourists come to Amritsar now, they come for at least 3 to 4 days. So from a city which was bustling, hustling with crowds, almost unmanageable crowds, to a city today with absolutely empty, vacant, desolate roads. It's a transformation which nobody had ever dreamt of. It is a change which nobody could have ever conceptualized or visualized, or even in their wildest of dreams, they could not have thought that these roads would be empty. Because even in the middle of the night, at the Golden Temple, they take away the Guru Granth Sahib at around 10 o'clock. So the doors are shut after that. The outer part doesn't have doors. So I thought it would be totally deserted at that time. So one day I went at 1:30 in the night to the Golden Temple, and the parikrama was full of people, even at 1:30. So a city which never slept, from a city which was always bustling with energy, bustling with tourists, and tourists from all over, all parts of the country and all parts of the globe. The five-star hotels, the restaurants, the food eateries, the street food, the international airport, they were all chock-a-block. And on a long weekend, we have more than 800 hotels and not a room to be had. One would dread a call when you got a call on a long weekend from an old friend or a senior in Delhi or Chandigarh. One would dread that he'll be asking for some accommodation. And people rightfully made a very simple request that, okay, we are not asking for a great favor. We want accommodation on payment. Please get us a hotel room. I can't find a hotel room. And there was no hotel room to be had. So from that situation, post-COVID, post-lockdown, it is empty hotels, it's empty roads, deserted roads. We've had to lock down all this. We had to close it all down. So the transformation is absolute and total. It's unbelievable. It's mind-boggling. From a single place getting 125,000 visitors a day is something unimaginable. That is the kind of situation we are seeing.
Please tell us about the, thanks to the corona and the lockdown, the administration has been given a lot of responsibilities, from managing law and order, managing curfew, managing the quarantine people, finding the sick people with corona, feeding the poor people. So I think the responsibilities would have increased 10 times or 50 times or 100 times. So how has it all been managed? Please explain about it.
The challenges in Amritsar had started even before the total lockdown. Because, as you yourself mentioned, that Amritsar has a peculiarity. This is the only major city in the country which has both an international airport and an international land border. So we were getting people in, and at that point of time, the decision was taken by the government of India and the state government that now the travelers coming from abroad will have to be quarantined. So even before the total lockdown or the international flights having been cancelled, so we were scrambling to find place to quarantine these people who were landing by these international flights. Then, sometime back, the train to Pakistan had already been discontinued. So had the bus been, but still there were people who were coming over through the Patari-Waka border. So on one particular day, the two governments decided that yes, the borders are to be sealed. And a very peculiar situation arose that some people had, the Pakistan authorities had cleared them. They were Indians, Kashmiri students, most of them girls, studying medicine, and they were coming back to their home. And the Pakistan authorities had cleared them, and the BSF had taken them in. And but by the time they reached the immigration people, they had received orders that the borders be sealed immediately. No more people are to be taken. Now these people were stuck. So the Indian immigration authorities had orders that the borders are sealed. Not a single person to come in. The Pakistan people were not ready to take them back because they said we have already cleared them, handed them over, so they can't come back into Pakistan. They couldn't go back into Pakistan and they couldn't come into India, so where did they go? And as you know, this is an international border. There is no man's land in between where they could be there. So it took long parleys and we had to sort this matter out. It had to be taken up at very high levels in the Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of External Affairs, and eventually at around 10 of the night, it was decided that, okay, take them, but you have to put them in government quarantine for 14 days. So at 10 in the night, you were scrambling to find places to quarantine them. And naturally, those students, as youngsters, I think they had started, a lot of them had started from Lahore or wherever they were coming from in the morning, the earliers had come and gone earlier. So they had reached their homes. Now, these people, just because they were 1 hour after or 2 hours after their other classmates and college mates, they were stuck. And so legitimately they were feeling quite agitated about it. When they were put into buses in the night at Atari border and brought to a quarantine place for setup, they wouldn't get off the buses. So and they were girls, so you can't really, push them down or pull them down. So lady officers or lady doctors sat with them in the bus, were talking to them for hours and hours and hours, and eventually convinced them and brought them down. And then the quarantine period started. Of course, when by the time they left, they were all very good friends. And but then at that time, when the quarantine period was over, the J&K Punjab border, the lockdown had come into place. The curfew had been imposed, and the J&K Punjab border was sealed. J&K was not taking back even its own residents. So, and there were a huge number of Kashmiri laborers who were stuck at the Rakhilpur border. And now I could not even send these girls to be stranded at the roadside. So we had to keep them, and they were our guests for a very long time. So these kind of things keep happening. So you, as you move along, you handle them, you take care of them, and then of course they were very unhappy when they came to us for quarantine. But once they went from here, they have been sending innumerable messages of thanks and how well they were treated in Punjab and how well they were treated in Amritsar, and that they have some great memories from Amritsar. That's very sweet of them. But then for those some hours in the middle of the night, it wasn't funny at all. Like my senior doctors, they were just sending me panic calls. I was getting panic calls. I got one at 3 o'clock. A very senior doctor, she's saying, "Sir, क्या करें अब तो कुछ समझ नहीं आता. ये तो उतरने को तैयार ही नहीं है. What do we do?" I have spent 2 hours counseling them. So when they are citizens, they are children, they are students. You have to take care of them. You can't use, strong arm tactics. You're not supposed to, and one shouldn't. So, and it's only you're trying to cajole them, convince them that it is for their betterment, which they refuse to understand. They think that, okay, classmates, they have already reached Srinagar. They have gone. They took the flight out of Amritsar. So I've got tickets. My tickets have been cancelled. So all those kinds of things happen, which are quite peculiar. From one international border, they had to come here, and then the flights stopped. And now we have another challenge that during the curfew, we are having special flights, special evacuation flights, organized by various foreign missions. The British High Commission, the US Embassy, the Canadian High Commission, the Malaysians, the Germans, they're all bringing in special flights, chartered flights to fly out their citizens. Most of those people are of Indian origin, but they're coming from different places. To get them to come here, put it all together, and then sending them out, all during the curfew. That's happening. So all kinds of things are happening. You have to take care of logistics. You have to take care of hospitals. You have to create hospitals. You have to create care centers. You have to, and then the problem is that it's not about just creating infrastructure. It is like they say, it's all in the mind. When you put somebody into a quarantine center or an isolation facility against his or her wishes, they probably think you are the worst person on earth. Who's, they think that there's nothing wrong with me. What's wrong with me? Why are they putting me into quarantine? They're not good people. So they can't say that. So they'll try to start finding faults with the system. That, oh, there is no facility here. This is bad. This is dirty. This is this. This is that. So say, what do you want? I want to go home. So at the end, there is only one question: I want to go home. So all that fault finding basically is for one purpose. That is, I want to go home. And you really can't blame them. because, it's normal for any human being to want to go home. And when you keep them away from home, okay, the youngsters may stay out of their home whole day. When the parents call them home, they'll tell their parents, okay, mom, okay, dad, I'll come later. Why do you want me to come and sit at home? But when you keep them out of their home forcibly, they don't like it. They want to go home. When the parents want them at home, they want to go out. But when you try to keep them out of home, they want to go home. And for going home, they'll throw tantrums, they'll throw whatever. They're all bright young people. And even the not so young people. So they come up with all kinds of things. And then when you ask them, what is the problem? Well, and then today is an age of social media. So all they have to do is make a small little video clipping. I am being kept here against my wishes. This is a bad place. I want to go home. And that's circulated all over. And when you ask them, what is the problem? He said, no problem. I just want to go home.
So, like this is the human angle which you have brought in the whole situation. Tell us about the Punjab is a land where a lot of international tourism takes place, both outbound and inbound. Like a lot of Punjabis go to USA, Canada, all over the place, UK, and like many also return in this type of situation of crisis, and all were thought ki they might be having COVID-19 issues. So how was that finding those people who have returned, tracing them, finding them, like how was that operation?
The first patient we got was at the airport, because we had set up these screening centers at the airport. And there was one suspected case we got, and then he was taken for testing and he tested positive. So he was taken to the isolation center. And our teams, and then we had to check up on even all the staff which had handled him. We even sent messages to the airlines which had brought him, and all the passengers on that flight also had to be contacted and screened. We even screened the staff, the air hostesses, the cabin crew, which put them on the flight, the customs people who handled them at the airport, the immigration staff which handled them at the airport, the taxi driver. So basically you start contact tracing and you have to track on everybody, because a single loose end then can lead to a lot of unpleasant consequences. So the thing started from there, setting up of isolation wards in the hospitals, setting up of quarantine facilities, even medical professionals, because, okay, they are medical professionals, they handle a lot of medical cases. But then COVID-19 was something unknown to them also. They did not know how to handle it. So there were training sessions for them. They were sensitized about it. The staff which was handling it was sensitized about it. And then there were, all of a sudden you had requirement for things which were not earlier needed. Suddenly you needed lakhs of masks. Suddenly you needed sanitizers. Suddenly you needed PPE kits for the medical staff, for the healthcare staff, for sanitation staff, or all kinds of people who were coming in contact with them. So the production capacities for these things were not there. So you had to create those. You had to, literally, like a magician, you had to wave your hand in the air and try to pull out things from thin air. So, and overnight you were supposed to do that, as in yesterday, not even tomorrow. All this was required to be done as in yesterday. And then, above all, the media, because media is expert on everything. So even though the world and the scientists and the doctors all over the world still haven't found out a cure, but they know all about it, and they'll say that you are not doing this right and you're not doing that right, because as if they know it all and they know what is right. So that is also there. So all that, and then they are asking the doctors are getting hassled. You have to handle them. The police is in the again in the forefront, so they also have to be sensitized about it. And then the concept of social distancing, which is not our culture, is not attuned to that. So we're all used to huddling together, sitting together, you know, pushing, jostling each other in public to get into a bus, to get into this, whatever, whatever. And all of a sudden you need social distancing. And the first time you talk to people about social distancing, they give you blank look. What is that? What are you talking about? So to bring in that, but it's amazing. It's amazing the way people have adjusted. It's amazing the way people have got sensitized. It's amazing the way the people have supported. When we clamped down the curfew, we were visualizing so many problems. But of course, if there were people who were trying to break the curfew or trying to sneak out, evading the police or whatever, whatever, that was a very small fraction. A huge, vast majority of our populous country, they rose to the occasion. They absolutely stood by the government and the society and decided to remain indoors. They had their problems, they had their difficulties. It's not easy to remain indoors for a person who is out every day, but they did, and without cribbing at all. They like, in fact, I think Indians have acquitted themselves very well in this. A vast majority has. Of course, there will be few, aberrations here and there. They'll always be there. They are the ones which will be highlighted. You'll always, every day, you'll get some video clips going viral that here is somebody who's out on the road, or those typical phrases, यहाँ पे कर्फ्यू की धज्जियां उड़ाई जा रही हैं, यहाँ पे ये हो रहा है, कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा हो रहा है. So those will be there, but how many are those in a country of 140 crores, or if I'm talking about only Amritsar, so even here in about 22 lakhs, how many of those are there? The vast majority is uncomplainingly sticking to it. And the beauty of it is that even now they say that if you want to extend it, please do. We want to save ourselves. We want to save our families from this coronavirus. If the lockdown has to be extended, so be it. If the curfew has to be extended, so be it. So that is the kind of responsible responses which give you a lot of hope that if our citizenry, our people, the common man on the street, starts understanding these concerns and is with you to fight this unseen enemy. This is an enemy we can't see. So Punjabis are always great ones for a fight. So they have been known for their valor, they have been known for this, but they like to go out to the battlefield and fight. They like to see an enemy and fight it out with him. Now, how do they fight an enemy they can't see? So that's their problem, trying to understand that. But they are adapting very well to it. They're trying to stay indoors. A lot of people have come out to support others, like some migrant laborers, other poor people who needed support, who needed food, who needed rations. So people have come out very large-heartedly to help them. Of course, the government is doing its bit. The government is providing them rations, food, everything. But then a lot of NGOs, a lot of individuals, a lot of groups of people, they all rose to the occasion to come and support their fellow human beings, their fellow citizens, so that no one goes to sleep hungry, so that no one has a problem. All this good side of the human nature has also come out, which I think is a very encouraging sign.
What are the numbers in your city? How many cases are there, and how many are recovered?
Thing is, still about 4 days back, we had a total of 14 only. But then we brought in people from other states who were checked and all that, so there's a big number coming in. So in these last 3 days, we have seen a huge number coming in. So now that figure is at 135. they are all in the isolation center, are being treated there. The first case in Punjab who have recovered was also in Amritsar, and people have recovered. There have been 2 deaths, of course. Unfortunately, they were senior citizens who had comorbidity or other complications. One of them had a chronic asthma condition, bronchial asthma for the last 20 years. So the lungs were already compromised. They could not fight it out. Similarly, another retired officer, he also succumbed to the corona. But others who are fit, they are fighting it out and recovering and coming out of it. These big numbers which have come in the last 3 days, most of them are even asymptomatic. They don't even have any problem. So that's why it's all the more difficult to keep them. Because this is, you want to treat me for what? I don't have any problem. So, it's very difficult to convince a person who doesn't have a problem that he has a problem. So
Yes.
if the doctors tell them that, no, you are COVID-19 positive, he said, but I don't have any problem. He said, no, you don't have a problem, but we have a problem with you going around. You can't be allowed to go around. So, but then, yes, I do understand their perspective also. A person hale and hearty who's come out from crossing 3-4 states and he's traveling and he suddenly lands up and he's, hoping to go home and sleep in his own bed. And then suddenly the doctor tells him, no, sorry, you're coming to the hospital. But what's wrong with me? I don't have a problem. What is your problem? So then if you look at it in hindsight, you do see the lighter side of it. But then for those doctors who are facing them and trying to convince them that no, they need hospitalization, they need to be in the isolation ward, they have to be isolated, they can't be allowed to go home. Trying to convince people who are arguing and who are convinced that there is nothing wrong with them, it's not easy. So I really appreciate all those medical professionals, the paramedics, and all the staff, which is doing a great job. Also, administrative people in the administrative structure, the police, the sanitation, the municipal corporation, all these people who are, in these days, they are going out providing the necessary services. The electricity board providing uninterrupted electric supply, the sanitation and water supply people providing uninterrupted water supply. So all these are unsung heroes, actually, who are today, they are out. And when people say that, well, these guys, I said, look, they're all out so that you can be safe at home. So to keep everybody safe at home, all these are frontline COVID warriors. They are risking themselves, they are out. So they all, the least they deserve an appreciation from all of us.
Yes.
That yes, for us, safe tomorrow, you are risking your today.
Yes.
So that's something which we need to appreciate. And
yes,
a lot of our society is doing that. A lot of our social organizations, NGOs, they recently came out with a small little initiative called the Wheels of Hope. And they got a band together and they would go out wherever the frontline people were there. They also came to my office just to play that band and salute and all our COVID warriors, the health workers, the police force, the sanitation people, everyone, even at the airport, because people there keeping those flights going.
Yes.
Anybody who's out there to facilitate others. And our bus drivers, they went all the way to Maharashtra to get these people back. In the process, they are also in quarantine. So, they need to be appreciated.
Yes. Hats off to them actually who are actually on the field and going out, and also like who are treating the patients daily, because the doctors are facing the rats on the ground, nurses, paramedical staff, police, several government staff is actually on the field. Want to ask you about the medical facilities in your city. Like, have you specialized COVID hospital now, or quarantine hospitals, like and how much? What is the situation of the PPE and other related items?
Well, Amritsar is a center where we have the government medical college and hospitals. The Guru Nanak Dev Hospital is the largest hospital in the public sector in Punjab. And we have all kinds of specialists here. So the isolation wards have been set up in the Guru Nanak Dev Hospital, which is part of the government medical college Amritsar. It is also the referral hospital or the tertiary care hospital. So all surrounding districts are also sending their cases here. And even the VRDL lab, the laboratory that is testing for COVID-19, we have only 3 in the state, in the government sector. So the biggest one is here in Amritsar. So the samples from 8 districts are coming to Amritsar. And now the thing is that, as you see, as you progress along, there's a learning experience for everyone. The medical profession also is learning a lot. So now they have categorized the kind of patients. One are those which need critical care, which need intensive care. So they obviously have to be in the isolation wards and the specialized COVID hospital. But then there are others who are asymptomatic, who do not have any symptoms or have very mild symptoms. So for them, the government has come up with a scheme of COVID care centers, where you do not have intensive care units, you do not have those ventilators or anything, but because they are not required for these kind of people. But since the numbers you're looking at are, they can increase exponentially any day, like
Yes.
it happened here. So we have also come up with a COVID care center, which is an absolutely new facility, a 1,000-bedded facility, which we have created in the building of the meritorious school and the hostels. So this facility is now ready. We have 1,000 beds there. We have the medical staff deployed there. We have the support staff, people who take care of the biomedical waste, of the laundry of the service and the security services, food and hospital catering, everything. So that all has been put in place. We've also come up with a little technological innovation that we have devised something we call RoboCare. So it's actually remote controlled kind of food trolley, which the person does not have to go into the ward or the room. So it can take food, it can take water, it can take medicines or anything that is to be supplied to the patients, and it is remotely controlled by a person sitting in the control room. So just to avoid that, human to human contact, or to keep it to the bare minimum.
Sure. There are some questions from the audience. If you think we can take that. Yeah. So if you go on the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A button there. There are around 7 questions. Can you see that Q&A icon on the bottom of the screen?
Not really.
There is a chat option and there is a Q&A option.
Yeah.
Yeah. So may I read the questions?
Yeah, okay? Please.
Yeah. So first question is that what is the impact of COVID-19 on tourism in Amritsar city, and how has it affected the local public?
Well, this is a huge impact, because Amritsar, like I told you, was looking at figures in 6 figures. 125,000 people visiting the Golden Temple, out of which, if we take that 50,000 were just the devotees and the people who had come to pay obeisances, still about 75,000 were tourists who are coming in every day. And that figure has come to, from 75,000 a day, has come down. And in Amritsar, like I told you earlier, we have so many hotels. They are all empty. restaurants are closed down, people who are running their cabs, their taxis, the tour guides, and all the people related with the hotel and hospitality industry, they are virtually without work. So the major driver of Amritsar's economy was tourism. In fact, when there was a slowdown in the economy across the world and even in the country, Amritsar was an exception. The economy of Amritsar was booming at that time because of tourism. So this COVID-19 has hit Amritsar where it hurts the most economically, because tourism industry has come to a grinding halt. Our hotels are empty. The service industry, the waiter, the cooks, the housekeepers, the backroom boys, the front desk girls, the cab drivers, the tour guides, and even our shopping. Because when you go as a tourist to any place, either your family, friends back home will ask you, you went there, what did you get from me? So you buy little small souvenirs, some knickknacks or something to take back home. So all those shops around the Golden Temple, on the way, everywhere, so they are out of business right now. So the economy of Amritsar has definitely taken a hit.
There is a question that how do you plan to attract domestic tourism post COVID-19?
Well, that is an easy one. That shouldn't be a problem. All we are looking forward is to the period post COVID-19 and wish and hope that that day comes soon. The moment that happens, I see absolutely no problem in attracting domestic tourists. Half of them will come here for Thanksgiving to the Golden Temple. The moment they come out of it, they'll come here to pay their respects.
Yeah. I think there is a connection problem. I hope we are able to connect soon. So while we are waiting, let me inform the audience that we at Elets are doing the webinars daily, and we are interacting with the top officials of the various cities, various districts, various municipal corporations, various states, and of course the central government department authorities. We are also interacting with the industries. We are interacting with the schools, colleges, hospitals, bankers, HR professionals, and experts in several other sectors, IT sector, and discussing with them about what is the impact of the COVID-19. Yeah, welcome again.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
yes, welcome again, please. So you have answered the second question that what will happen the post the COVID tourism. So you said you have answered that. Let me move to the next one. Tourism is a major source of income for thousands in the city. How do we plan to take care of them?
Yeah, that's the tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough
So,
one.
the thing is that so many people have been dependent upon tourism for very long. Of course, there are the big players who can afford to wait. The big hotel chains, the Marriotts, the Radissons, the Taj, they can wait. But a cab driver, a taxi driver, or a porter who was earning his daily wages cannot. So for them, the government is taking care of them. Fortunately, all of them in their good days have made a decent kind of savings. and Punjabis are not known to be cribbers. So they are making do, and some of them are very innovative. So the other day somebody showed me a small photograph. So this guy, he was running a tourist agency. So probably there's no business for it today. So what he is saying that so and so ABC tourist agency. So he says tourist agency and Karyana store. He's written and he's selling essential commodities because that is what is being allowed to be sold today. They're quite, you know, innovative and I would say very resourceful people. So they think out of the box. So the whole name remains the same. And provision store and Karyana store, they write, and they're selling those stuff which is being allowed to be sold today and what people are buying today. So they're doing that. There are people who have started using their vans, their cabs as home delivery vehicles because what was being the economic activity that was being allowed today was provision of essential commodities through home delivery. So they jumped onto that bandwagon and have started using their resources, the resource they had. They had a van. That van is being used for providing home delivery of food, essential commodities, and even medicines. So there are people who are improvising, who are thinking out of the box and like biding their time. And yes, some of them do need support. They are getting that support, even both from the private sector, from the government sector. The government, of course, provides for anybody who's needy beyond a point. They are being taken.